Welcome back, students, again to Kinesiology 120 Concepts of Wellness. Today we're going to be looking at examining body image and eating disorders. Okay, so far we've talked about spiritual wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness. We've talked briefly about occupational wellness and intellectual wellness and social wellness. We determined that spiritual wellness is the foundation of your overall health and wellness. We talked about mission statements and goals for lifestyle changes. We've learned the biblical view that God created people very good and was pleased. Some people agree with the premise that God's evaluation of them is very good, but others see this evaluation and view themselves as very bad. They feel that they are too thin or too fat. They look in the mirror and see somebody that they are unhappy with. Body image is an individual's self-perceptions and attitudes about his or her physical appearance, leading to either satisfaction or dissatisfaction. These self-perceptions can affect lifestyle of both men and women, and of all ages. Body image is the picture you hold in your mind of your own body. It encompasses 4 dimensions: cognitive, affective, perceptual, and behavioral. The cognitive component, rather, is what you think about your body. I think my hips are too wide. The effect is the feelings you have about your body. The affective is how you feel about your body. I feel ugly or fat. The perceptual component includes how you visualize your body in mind. I see myself as having wide hips. And the behavioral concept includes things that you try to do to change your body, like exercising, dieting, changing your lifestyle. Society does dictate the way we perceive how we need to be and what we need to be, and so on. Some people try to diet. They're going to initially lose some weight, feel a little bit better about themselves and in control, but that will plateau and frustration will set in, and they'll quit the diet, gain that weight back that they lost, and maybe even a little extra. When somebody tries to diet and they fail and the weight increases, their metabolic rate slows down. So the way to burn off excess fat and energy is slowed down. Eating disorders and poor health can result by somebody that feels desperate to lose the weight that they think they need to lose. Depression is exasperated, and extreme measures are taken, such as eating disorders or exercising too much, and we'll get to that shortly. Fact: bodies come in all different shapes and sizes. Fact: your body will change throughout life. Fact: you are who you are who God made you, and you are who you were created to be. Okay, as young girls, we all have, or not we all, I'm not a girl. Anyway, as young girls see Barbie and see things on social media, the peer pressure, the pressure to be beautiful, skinny, and a healthy person persists. But is Barbie's body really possible? If we look at the measurements, if Barbie was a human, she would be over 7 feet tall, have a cup size of double F, weigh only 100 pounds, and wear children's size 5 shoes. Her waist would be the same as her head, about 19 inches, and she would wear a size 4. The average woman height is 5'4", weighing about 140 pounds. It is not possible. But weight preoccupation is a term that encompasses a wide variety of topics, including diet, body image, eating disorders, and other obsession tendencies with weight and food. Americans spend an estimated $50 billion a year on diets and diet-related products. Researchers report that half of American women are on a diet. 25% of men are on a diet. and 91% of women that attended college at one point in time tried a diet. And about half of 9 to 10-year-old girls say that they would feel better if they lost some weight. According to the National Eating Disorder Information Center, dieting is futile. Often harmful processes of restrictive eating, usually caused by body dissatisfaction, preoccupation with thinness, and the false belief that their self-worth is dependent on body size. 4 out of 5 10-year-old girls say that they're afraid of being fat, and over 50% of them say they feel better about themselves when they are on a diet. And unlike healthy eating, which involves eating well-balanced snacks and meals from a variety of foods that give you energy to carry out your daily activities, dieting creates a physiological preoccupation with food and can have devastating results, such as eating disorders, weight loss surgery, or even suicide. When individuals continue to diet, they attempt to alter their body or physical appearance. They are basically trying to alter the image that they have of their body. Now, there are many factors that contribute to the development of body image concern for both men and women. Puberty, peer pressure, family influences, the media, the gender difference all help dictate the way we see ourselves. Puberty is a major contributor to the onset of body image concerns. Young adolescents' bodies start to develop and change during puberty in ways that they are unfamiliar with. Many girls feel threatened by natural weight gain, and the physiological changes come during this time in their lives. As they control their feelings about their new bodies, young women develop negative thoughts about their body image. Peer pressure contributes to the need for societal approval. Appearances are intensely important for adolescents, especially adolescent girls. Young girls will often compare themselves to others and talk about their bodies and weight issues. So how do we overcome the negative thoughts and feelings that a person may have about their body? Martha Holmes' workbook, Seeing Yourself in God's Image, is an excellent resource with a step-by-step guide to help you overcome a negative body image and eating disorders. First step, as hard as it might be, is to accept that bodies come in all different shapes and sizes. It's all important to understand that your physical body or appearance does not define who you are. Society's definition of beauty is ever changing, but God's view does not change. Second step, know and understand that your weight and shape will change at various times throughout your life. You may have seen this during puberty, and some of you may see this year as you go through the first 2 semesters in college. You can do things to help make this transition easier by eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, and figuring out what type of exercise that you enjoy doing. Third step is to explore who you are and who you were created to be. Take a good look at your inner self emotionally and spiritually. And when you do, you will be able to figure out who you want to be and how you want to spend your time. Fourth and final step, remember that attractiveness comes from within, and thinness and beauty do not always equal happiness. Feeling positive about yourself will affect others in how they view you. Give the respect your body deserves. This might be working out and starting a new exercise program, spending time relaxing, surrounding yourself with a different group of friends who respect you and accept you for who you are and not what you look like. One thing to think about, make sure that you're aware of your own weight prejudice and what you think about people who don't fit that perfect image. The pressure to be perfect is unbearable. It forces us to make irrational decisions that have sometimes irreversible repercussions. We try and fix the problem overnight. We change our eating habits. We make rash decisions. But then eating disorders can evolve. By the time they reach high school, 1 in 10 students have an eating disorder. This has a potentially devastating impact on their physical and mental health. Of all people with eating disorders, 90% are women between the ages of 12 and 25. A person who feels very dissatisfied or unhappy with his or her body may take extreme measures to try and alter their body size and shape. The pressure and need to be perfect is unbearable. Extreme measures become the normal habits. Eating disorders are classified into three categories: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and eating disorders not otherwise specified. Binge eating disorder is classified under the not otherwise specified category. Other identified disorders that are related to eating disorders include anorexia athletica, female athlete triad syndrome, body dysmorphic disorder, and muscle dysmorphia. Anorexia nervosa is characterized by a person's refusal to maintain a minimal body weight, an intense fear of gaining weight, significant disturbance in the perception of the shape or size of his or her body, and in females, no menstrual period. Signs include a dramatic weight loss, preoccupation with weight, food, calories, fat content, and dieting, not to mention a refusal to eat certain foods. Individuals may comment about feeling fat or overweight, despite their weight loss, and experience anxiety about gaining weight or being fat. Often, these individuals will develop food and exercise rituals, find consistent excuses to avoid meal times, and withdraw from spending time with friends or family or participating in usual activities. People restrict the number of calorie and types of foods they eat. Some exercise compulsively, purge by vomiting and taking laxatives. Warning signs and symptoms of anorexia nervosa, dramatic weight loss, dresses in layers to hide weight loss or stay warm, preoccupied with weight, food, calories, fat grams, refusal to eat certain foods. They complain about abdominal pain, constipation, and cold intolerance. They deny that they are hungry and developing food rituals. They seem concerned about eating out in public, and they withdraw from usual groups of friends and activities. Physical signs from anorexia nervosa include stomach cramps, difficulty concentrating, anemia, low thyroid and hormone levels. They're cold all the time. Dental issues, sensitivity and enamel corrosion. Menstrual irregularities in women and muscle weakness. Consequences of anorexia nervosa include the body being denied essential nutrients, and the body is forced to slow down its metabolism to conserve energy, resulting in serious medical issues that affect your organs. Bulimia nervosa is characterized by repeated episodes of binging or eating abnormally large amount of food at one time, followed by behaviors designed to eliminate that food from the body. Self-induced vomiting, fasting, or excessive exercise are examples of the ways individuals eliminate food from their body. It is an emotional disorder that involves the distortion of one's body image. It's an obsessive desire to lose weight, bouts of extreme overeating followed by self-induced vomiting, purging, or fasting. This is followed by bouts of guilt and or regret. People with bulimia will frequently make trips to the bathroom after meals, use laxatives or diuretics, or follow excessively rigid exercise regimens. People with bulimia are usually at a normal weight, but like those with anorexia, are obsessed with food and their weight. They may have cuts or calluses on the backs of their hands and knuckles, which is caused by teeth scraping the hand during purging. Individuals may also have discolored teeth and damage to the esophagus from the vomiting. Risk factors: unsuccessful dieters, conflict avoidance, inability to identify and assert personal needs, high distress levels, parental overprotectiveness can lead to bulimia nervosa. Binge eating disorder. Binge eating disorder is recognized eating disorder that is characterized by frequent episodes of uncontrolled eating. Frequent bouts of consuming usually large, amounts of food in one sitting and feeling that their eating behavior is out of control. The feeling cannot stop. They eat to discomfort. They eat till they're too full and physically ill. They eat when they are not physically hungry. Embarrassment on how much food they eat leads to guilt and shame. Some of the factors with binge eating disorder. Anorexia athletica is characterized by excessive and compulsive exercising. This is most common amongst female athletes. It is a mental illness which gives one a sense of control over their body. However, many people who are preoccupied with food and weight exercise compulsively try to control weight in a misguided attempt to gain a sense of power, control, self-respect. Warning signs include exercising beyond the requirements for good health and having a fanatical obsession about weight and diet. People might also miss work or school and may have withdrawn from relationships so that they can exercise. They focus on exercise as a challenge and forget that exercising can be fun. They define their self-worth in terms of their performance and are rarely satisfied with athletic achievements. Female athletic triad syndrome is the combination of two interrelated conditions associated with athletic training: menstrual dysfunction and osteoporosis. Amenorrhea is the absence of menses in two cases: when a female's menstrual cycle does not occur between ages of 14 and 16, and normal sex characteristics don't develop, or when menstrual bleeding is absent for 6 months in a woman with regular cycles. Osteoporosis is the loss of bone mineral density and the inadequate formation of bone, which can lead to increased bone fragility and risk of fracture. Premature osteoporosis puts athletes at risk for stress fractures, as well as more devastating fractures of the hip and vertebral column, and lost bone density may be irreplaceable. Warning signs of female athlete triad syndrome are often seen in those that pursue sports and activities that emphasize low body weight and a lean physique, such as gymnastics, figure skating, long distance running, diving, swimming. It's a nutritional imbalance where an individual may go to extremes in dieting or exercise. Body dysmorphic disorder is a mental health disorder in which you cannot stop thinking about one or more perceived defects or flaws in your bodily appearance. It is defined as a preoccupation with an imagined or slight defect in appearance that causes clinically significant distress or impairment in functioning and is not better accounted for by another disorder such as anorexia nervosa. The following are signs and symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder: are frequently comparing one's appearance with others, repeatedly checking the appearance of the specific body part in the mirrors, and wearing excessive clothing, makeup, or hats to camouflage that perceived flaw. People with this disorder will have elaborate grooming rituals, excessively research the perceived defective body part, and usually seek surgery or other medical treatment despite medical recommendations against it. Those with this disorder will avoid social situations in which the perceived flaw might be noticed, and will feel anxious and self-conscious around others because of this imagined defect. People with severe body dysmorphic disorder may also drop out of school, quit their jobs, become isolated, and avoid leaving their homes. Muscle dysmorphia is a preoccupation with the idea that one's body is insufficiently lean or muscular. Generally, this disorder affects more men than women. Men view themselves as being too small when they look normal or even incredibly muscular. As a result, they may neglect important social or occupational activities because of the way they think that they look So they stick to a meticulous diet and regimented workout schedule. They exercise more. They lift weights more. In addition, they may be engaged in compulsive weightlifting or bodybuilding routines and maybe take steroids or other muscle building drugs to get bigger. Although women are at a higher risk for developing body image concerns and eating disorders, research shows that men are slowly becoming more and more at risk. And an alarming statistic about eating disorders is that 1 in 10 anorexia cases ends in death. Eating disorders typically develop during adolescence, typically between 13 and 18. The mean age of eating disorders is around the age of 17 when they're in their senior high school or their first year in college. Each year, eating disorders increase on college campuses. Many students are excited to gain their independence. However, the responsibility placed on them becomes too much, and students turn to anorexia to block out what's happening. If they spend all their time focusing on calories and weight, they don't have time to think about anything else. Others might believe that the only way that they will become accepted is if they are thin. Others may turn to bulimia or compulsive eating to deal with pressures and all the emotions that they're experiencing. Food can replace any feelings of sadness, loneliness, depression, fear, or confusion. Eating disorders are complex psychological disorders, and their onset may be influenced by socio-cultural factors, psychological factors, biological influences, and conflict within the family. Society in general has a very narrow definition of beauty, placing more emphasis on the outer appearance of an individual than on the inner strengths and qualities. Our culture glorifies thinness and places value on obtaining that perfect body. Thin and shapely is beautiful. Sociocultural influences of eating disorders include cultural overemphasis on thinness, the glorification of youth, changing roles of women and men in society, a fitness-crazed culture, and the presence of social media. 3 examples of social media that flood people with messages about their disadvantages of being thin are TV, movies, social media, magazines. Either directly or indirectly, we are told that goodness, success, power, approval, popularity, admiration, intelligence, friends, and romantic relationships require physical beauty. They promote that people who are not thin are failures, who are morally lax, weak, out of control, stupid, laughable, lonely, disapproved of, and rejected. Many psychological and interpersonal factors also contribute to the development of an eating disorder. They include a distorted body image, depression, perfectionism, and low self-esteem. Because eating disorders and mood disorders both involve chemical imbalances of the brain, the mind is altered and becomes flooded with negative thoughts. People with these disorders need to receive counseling because the disorders come with significant emotional issues. Perfectionists develop exceptionally high and unrealistic standards for themselves on achievements and tasks. Look at Heather's. Self-esteem has a lot to do with the development of eating disorders. Most men and women don't have body types that match their ideal body type in their minds. Striving for unreasonable standards contribute to lower self-esteem and depression. Biological influences also have an influence on the development of eating disorders. Studies of twins and families have provided evidence that eating disorders are transmitted genetically. Therefore, if a family member has had an eating disorder, you have a higher risk of developing one too. Genetics does play a part. In addition, passing on genetic traits, families pass along concerns, fears, and preoccupations about weight. For example, family members often praise individuals with eating disorders for their slenderness, and they envy the self-control and discipline required to achieve that physique. Unfortunately, family members may be blind to their relative's eating disorder, and they may continue to praise and reinforce the weight loss even when the person becomes severely ill. Also, the environment within the family dynamics have a big part in eating disorders. Intrusive, hostile, or disrespectful environments aid in the development of low self esteem, which can lead to depression and an eating disorder. Mothers play a big part in the development of their children. If the mom has a preoccupation with weight and body image, the children may also have a greater chance to become affected by an eating disorder. Differences between men and women, how they express their concern of body image, include women wanting to be thinner and leaner. Men, on the other hand, want to become leaner and more muscular. Although men and women differ in what they want their bodies to look like, the motivation behind why they want to change their bodies is often the same. Both genders struggle with how they view their bodies and how they accept who they are. Although the way they go about trying to alter their bodies may be different, the goal for men and women is the same: to gain approval and acceptance from others, and to cope with or manage stress, anxiety, and heavy emotions. Recovery from an eating disorder. Because many factors contribute to the development of an eating disorder, and because every person's situation is different, the best treatment should be tailored to that individual. Recovery is a difficult process that can take several months to several years. It involves maintaining a normal or near normal weight. In women, resuming normal menstrual periods, eating a well-balanced diet that includes a variety of foods, and reducing irrational fears about different types of food. Another part of recovery is working on relationships. They need to seek out age-appropriate relationships with family members and others. This will help create a support system with their peers. During recovery, they will begin to realize and become aware of unreasonable cultural demands for thinness. They'll engage in fun activities that have nothing to do with food, weight, or appearance. They'll gain self-esteem and set realistic goals and plans for achieving them. Men who became infatuated with muscle building need the same kind of self-disciplined assessment and treatment as individuals with eating disorders. Getting weight back to normal is a priority. And destructive behaviors such as binging, purging, usage of steroids need to be reduced and eventually eliminated. They must also work on relationships to help in their recovery. Other options for treating eating disorders include hospitalization to prevent death, suicide, or medical crisis, weight restoration to improve health, mood, and cognitive functioning, medication to relieve anxiety and depression, dental work to repair damage and minimal future issues, counseling to develop healthy ways to cope and take control, family counseling to change old patterns and create healthier new ones, nutritional counseling, and participation in support groups to break down isolation and alienation. That ends today's lecture. Hopefully you got something out of this that you maybe didn't know before, but it's a bad thing. If you know somebody or you're having these thoughts in your head, please seek help. And I look forward to talking to you for the next lecture. Thank you. Good night.